The stars began to howl that night. It started as a whisper, a subsonic tremor in the atmosphere that made the oceans shiver and the mountains hum. Birds fled their nests in silent terror. Wolves froze mid-hunt, their amber eyes reflecting the auroras that split the sky, not in ribbons of light but in jagged living fractals. By dawn the forests were littered with carcasses, deer with their ribs burst outward like petals, bears with their skulls hollowed to glassy shells. The humans called it a cosmic storm. They were wrong. Deep in the ice-locked tundras, where the permafrost cracked like ancient bone, something stirred. A vessel, buried for millennia, awoke. Its surface was not metal but something organic, veined and pulsating, its edges blurring as if refusing to obey the laws of matter. Inside, the air tasted of iron and ozone, of a biology rewritten. The walls breathed, exhaling spores that fused with the frozen soil, birthing roots that glowed like nerve endings. They called themselves the Vesrin, a species that did not conquer but converged. They did not invade, they spliced. Their gift was not a weapon but a covenant, DNA that blurred the lines between predator and prey, human and other. Those who survived the fusion emerged changed, stronger, hungrier. Their bones hummed with the memory of alien stars, their blood singing a dirge for a homeworld they had never seen. But the Vesrin did not linger to guide their children. They left only echoes in the glaciers, half-formed warnings etched in ice. Beware the bond, beware the moon that does not set. By the time the first hybrid child drew breath, its eyes twin voids, its cry a harmonic of two worlds, the humans finally understood. This was not an invasion. It was an inheritance. Chapter 1. The orbital citadel hummed like a dying star. Zyra Veyth's fingers hovered over the holographic interface, its azure light carving shadows beneath her eyes. Beyond the glass, Zenara's bioluminescent forests pulsed in the dark, veins of violet and cobalt threading the planet's surface. Her reflection flickered in the viewport, a ghost superimposed over the living world below. The weight of leadership was a black hole in her chest, relentless, inescapable. Officially, her father governed the Eclipse Legion. In truth, she had been its sovereign since the wars took her brothers. Their ashes orbited Zenara still, a ring of dust glittering in the perpetual twilight. She traced the scar along her wrist, a relic from her first combat simulation. The neural implant beneath it buzzed faintly, a reminder of the price of strength. 3 cores lost, 2 fleets decimated, one brother's last transmission echoing in every silence. The data streams on her interface blurred into a constellation of failures. Zyra Veyth, her father, believed treaties and betrothals could mend fractured alliances. Zyra knew better. The Galactic Pax respected only power, the kind etched in blood and plasma fire. The Citadel's medbay smelled of antiseptic and ozone. Kalen stood by the observation pane, his silhouette brittle against Zenara's glow. Age had hollowed him, his once indomitable frame now a husk draped in ceremonial robes. "The Nova Howlers have agreed to the Union," he said, voice frayed. "Vax Tor's armada could shield us from the void-stalkers." Zyra's implant flared, sharpening the room's edges. She watched a drone scrape lichen from the glass, its metallic claws leaving hairline fractures. "Like you, father, like all of us. You would trade my freedom for a shield." "I would trade anything to keep you alive." His hand trembled as he activated a hologram, a star map dotted with Nova Howler outposts. "The clans won't follow a woman who refuses a mate, not even you." The words coiled around her throat. She turned to the specimen tanks lining the wall, their viscous fluids suspending symbiotes, alien organisms, serpentine and iridescent, the source of their hybrid strength. One pressed against the glass, its bioluminescent tendrils flaring in mimicry of her pulse. "We are both caged," she thought, "but I still have teeth." The training grounds were a graveyard of broken mechs. Siren awaited her by a rusted Warbringer-class exosuit, its cockpit pried open like a carcass. The AI's avatar flickered, a woman of static and starlight, voice layered with synthetic harmonics. Your biometrics indicate distress. Vaxtor believes mates are trophies, Zyra said, slamming a power cell into her plasma cutter. The weapon whined to life, its blade casting jagged shadows. He'll learn otherwise. Siren's form glitched, pixels scattering like ash. The Ascendant games are a death sentence. Your father. My father clings to corpses. I fight for the living. She activated the holographic disguise, her brother's face superimposing over hers. Ker's features felt foreign now, a mask of angles and arrogance. The pheromone suppressor pricked her neck, dulling the scent of fury that might betray her. The shuttle bay throbbed with the stench of engine fuel. Joran, her engineer, knelt beside a modified fighter, its hull etched with eclipse runes. He handed her a neural link, a barbed crescent meant to fuse with her implant. It'll hurt, he warned, avoiding her gaze. Pain was an old companion. She drove the device into her temple. The world dissolved into code, a storm of numbers, trajectories, the heartbeat of every machine in the bay. For a moment, she was infinite. Then the feed severed. Blood trickled down her jaw. Joran muttered a curse, tossing her a rag. You're out of time. The games start at zenith. Zyra stared at her reflection in the fighter's hull. The mask held. Ker's sneer, Ker's scars, Ker's dead eyes. I am vengeance, she told the ghost in the metal. I am the storm they never saw coming. The arena loomed, a geodesic dome on Zenara's moon, its struts clawing at the void. Zyra's boots magnetized to the zero-G platform, her breaths fogging the visor. Combatants orbited her, Nova howlers in obsidian exosuits, void-stalkers with symbiote-augmented limbs, mercenaries trailing the stench of 100 battlefields. Vaxtor's mech loomed closest, its hull scorched by phoenix sigils. His laughter crackled over the comms. Look at this pup, Eclipse whelp, trembling in his first storm. Zyra's implant ignited. The neural link fused with her fighter, synapses burning. She fired thrusters, veering into the debris field. Plasma bolts seared past, their heat kissing her shields. Wait, let him chase. Vax took the bait, his mech barreled after her, guns blazing. She spun, slicing his primary cannon with her cutter. Molten alloy sprayed, crystallizing in the vacuum. His snarls dissolved into static. The crowd's roar vibrated through the dome's supports. Zyra's disguise flickered. For a heartbeat, Ker's face melted into hers. Vax's silver eyes narrowed. You. She severed his comms, let him drown in doubt. The Citadel's observatory was silent when she returned. Siren materialized, her static whisper urgent. Vax knows. Zyra peeled off the bloodied suppressor patch. Her true scent flooded the room, ozone and iron, fury unbound. Let him come, let them all come. Beyond the glass, Zenara's forests pulsed, alive and eternal. Somewhere in the dark, her brother's ashes glimmered. This is not a requiem, she thought. This is a reckoning. Chapter 2. The derelict station groaned like a wounded leviathan. Zyra's wrists burned under the magnetic restraints, her skin raw where Vax's hunters had torn her suppressor collar away. The air reeked of rust and ionized metal, every breath a blade in her lungs. Through a cracked viewport, Zenara's crystalline core glimmered, a mocking eye, distant and indifferent. They will come, she told herself, though the symbiote coiled around her spine remained silent, its bioluminescence dimmed by the dampeners in the walls. Draken will come. Vax's footsteps echoed in the corridor beyond, deliberate, predatory. She closed her eyes, retreating into the neural feed still flickering in her implant, a fractured memory of the games. The crowd's roar, the plasma cutter's hum. Vax's silver eyes widening as her disguise frayed. He had hissed, as if her true face were a heresy. Now his shadow filled the cell door, his exosuit scarred where her blade had rent it. Eclipse Queen, he sneered, gripping her jaw. His thumb smeared blood across her cheekbone, a perverse caress. Did you think your void lapdog would smell you through the void? Your symbiote's song is silent here. She spat in his face. The globule froze midair, crystallizing in the station's sub-zero chill. He backhanded her, the impact ringing through her skull. Pain bloomed, familiar, clarifying. I am not prey, she thought, her implant sparking as it parsed the dampener's frequency. A pattern, faint but vital. You'll beg for the bond before I'm done, Vax growled, slamming the door shut. Alone, Zyra pressed her forehead to the frigid floor. The symbiote stirred, its tendrils probing the dampener's edges. Patience, she willed it, though her pulse thundered. Somewhere, Draken's own alien bond writhed, a phantom ache in her ribs, a hook in the dark. The Eclipse Legion's citadel was a tomb of whispers. Draken Solver stood in the war room, his symbiote bristling beneath his armor. Zyra's absence was a void, a hemorrhage in the psychic tapestry he had sworn never to touch again. Her father's hologram flickered above the strategy table, Kaelin's voice brittle. Vax's station is a graveyard, no life signs, no heat signatures. She's there, Draken said. His bond ached, a compass needle quivering in the black. He had felt Zyra's fury in the arena, a supernova cloaked in a dead man's face. Now only static. Siren's avatar materialized, her static-laced voice urgent. The dampeners mask biosignatures, but Joran traced their comms, a debris field near the Kesari belt. Draken's gauntleted fist clenched. The void-stalker fleet loomed beyond the viewport, their warships scarred by ancient wars. Ready the armada. Kaelin's hologram wavered. You'll ignite a galactic war. War, Draken said, is all your daughter has ever known. Zyra's cell trembled, distant explosions, hallucinations. The dampener's hum sharpened, needling her implant. She focused on the memory of Zenara's forests, bioluminescent tendrils weaving through obsidian trunks, her brother's laughter echoing as they raced ahead. We are dust, Kerr had once said, but dust can blind empires. The symbiote lashed suddenly, its pain hers. A psychic scream, raw and resonant, tore through the station's walls. Draken. Adrenaline burned through the numbness. Zyra slammed her restraints against the floor once, twice, until the mag clamps cracked. Blood slicked her wrists as she staggered upright. The dampener's frequency pulsed in her implant, a staccato rhythm she mirrored with her neural link, overriding the locks. The door hissed open. Cold clawed at her as she stumbled into the corridor, her breath frosting the air. Alarms wailed. Through grated vents she glimpsed the battle outside. Eclipse fighters spiraling through artillery fire, void-stalker symbiotes melting hulls with acid tendrils. Our fleets together. Vax's voice boomed over the intercom. You think this changes anything? You're still a ghost in a dead man's armor. Zyra reached the reactor core, its plasma heart searing her retinas. The symbiote thrashed, starved for the fight. She gripped a fallen guard's shock blade. No more masks. The station's docking bay was a charnel house. Draken carved through Nova howlers, his symbiote a whirlwind of razored filaments. Zyra's scent lingered here, ozone and iron, defiance etched into the walls. He followed it like a psalm. A Nova mech lunged. He gutted it, molten alloy spraying. Zyra, he roared, the bond a live wire in his veins. Her reply was a psychic pulse, a beacon in the reactor core's direction. He ran. Zyra faced Vax atop the core's catwalk, the plasma below churning like a sun's heart. His exosuit gleamed, reforged, phoenix sigils weeping fire. You'll die as Kerr did, he spat, begging. She feigned a limp, luring him closer. The shock blade trembled in her grip. Wait, wait. Vax struck. She pivoted, driving the blade into his suit's power nexus. It erupted, flames engulfing him. He screamed, clawing at her. Draken's symbiote slammed into Vax, tendrils shredding armor. The bond between them flared, Zyra's rage, Draken's resolve, a feedback loop of annihilation. Vax's implants overloaded, his skull cracking against the catwalk. Silence. Zyra collapsed, Draken's arms cradling her. His symbiote brushed hers, a silent question. Yes, she thought, leaning into the bond's gravity. Yes. Zenara's dawn bled through the Citadel's glass. Zyra stood beside Draken on the observation deck, their symbiotes coiled in tandem. Below, Eclipse and void-stalker forces mingled, terraforming engines humming alongside biowarships. Siren's voice whispered through the neural feed. The clans are waiting. Zyra touched the fresh scar on her temple, where Draken's mark now pulsed. Not a shield, she thought, gazing at the rebuilt arena. A bridge. The forests glowed, alive, unbroken. Somewhere in the void, her brother's ashes shimmered. This, she thought, is how empires fall. Chapter 3. The ashes of war settled like static over Zenara's northern wastes. Zyra Veyth stood at the edge of the glassed crater where the Nova Howler's stronghold once thrived, her symbiote coiled dormant beneath her armor. The air tasted of ionized silica, each breath grating against her lungs. Below, the planet's crystalline core pulsed faintly through the smog, a wounded heart, its light smothered by the fallout of her vengeance. Draken's presence loomed behind her, his shadow merging with hers in the sulphurous dawn. Neither spoke. Words would only fracture the fragile truce between what they had destroyed and what they must now rebuild. Her neural implant flickered, replaying the final moments of Vax Tor's defiance, his mech dissolving in the reactor's plasma heart, his screams swallowed by the void. A just end, Siren had declared, but justice felt hollow here, where the ground wept toxic rain. Zyra knelt, her gauntlet brushing the charred remains of a bioluminescent sapling. Zenara's forests had once clawed through these wastes, relentless. Now, even the symbiotes shied from the soil. This is my legacy, she thought, a dead world crowned in corpses. Draken's hand settled on her shoulder, his symbiote's tendril brushing her neck, a silent question. She leaned into the contact, her own alien bond stirring. Together, their organisms emitted a low-frequency hum, a sound that vibrated in her marrow. Regrowth, the symbiotes whispered. At what cost? The Eclipse Citadel's war room thrummed with uneasy light. Holograms of clan leaders flickered above the strategy table, void-stalkers with their chitinous armor, Eclipse engineers in radiation suits, even a grizzled Kesari mercenary captain. Zyra's father sat apart, his gaze fixed on the star map. Kaelin Veyth had aged decades in weeks, his robes hanging slack over atrophied limbs. Siren's avatar materialized, her static form sharpening into focus. The Nova remnants demand retribution. They've rallied near the Kesari belt. Draken's symbiote flared, casting jagged shadows. Let them come, we'll reduce them to stardust. Zyra's implant throbbed. She saw it then, the path ahead, a spiral of bloodshed and barren triumphs. This is how empires fall. This is how he became what he is. She stepped into the hologram's glow, her voice cutting through the murmur. No. All eyes turned. Even Kaelin stirred, his hollow gaze sharpening. We offer them the cores, she said. The damaged ones, let them rebuild. The void-stalker delegates hissed, their symbiotes bristling. Draken's glare burned into her, but she held firm. You would arm our enemies, he growled. I would end the war, she said, her mind echoing with the reactor core's roar, Vax's final howl. Dust can blind empires or feed new roots. The terraforming engines awoke at twilight. Zyra stood on the Citadel's lowest level, watching Joran and his team graft salvaged symbiotes onto the irradiated soil. The organisms writhed, their bioluminescence dim but persistent. They'll adapt, Joran muttered, wiping sweat from his brow, or die trying. Zyra's own symbiote slithered down her arm, its tendrils probing the earth. A memory surfaced, years ago, kneeling in the forests, pressing a seedling into her hands. Life breaks what doesn't bend, he had said. She had thought him weak then. Now she understood. Survival was not surrender. A shadow fell across the plot. Draken stood at the perimeter, his armor discarded, his scarred torso exposed. The void-stalker sigil over his heart pulsed in time with his symbiote. "You gamble with our future," he said, but his voice lacked its edge. She sifted the soil through her fingers. "You once told me your people's symbiotes were born in dead stars. They adapted. Ours will too." He knelt beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. His bond thrummed, a resonance that still unnerved her, a gravity she could no longer resist. Together, their symbiotes wove into the earth, filaments of cobalt and emerald stitching through the blight. The Kesari Belt was a graveyard of shattered warships. Zyra piloted her fighter through the debris, Draken's void-stalker flagship looming behind her. The Nova Remnant's distress beacon pulsed ahead, a discordant whine in the neural feed. "They're starving," Siren observed. "Their cores are ash." Zyra's grip tightened on the controls. The Eclipse cargo hold brimmed with crystalline cores, fractured, unstable, but alive. A offering, a gamble. The Nova fleet emerged from the asteroid shadow, their hulls pocked, their weapons dormant. Zyra opened the comms. Static. Then a face, gaunt, silver-eyed Vax's spitting shadow, his heir. "Trickery," the heir rasped. "Choice," Zyra said. Silence stretched. The Nova symbiotes, starved and feral, hissed across the feed. A core was ejected from the Eclipse hold. It drifted, its fractured light a mimicry of Zenara's heart. The Nova heir's breath hitched. A clawed hand hovered over the retrieval controls. "Now," Zyra thought, "we see what survives." The Citadel's observatory brimmed with alien moss, its bioluminescence softening the steel walls. Zyra stood with Draken, their symbiotes entwined, watching the first Nova ship depart the belt, a single core glowing in its belly. Kalen approached, his steps unsteady. He held a holochip, a recording of her mother's voice, lost in the first pack wars. "She would have hated this," he said, gesturing to the Reformed Council chambers below, where Void and Eclipse delegates clashed and compromised. She believed in absolutes. Zyra took the chip, "And you." His smile was a cracked relic. "I believe in you." He left, the chip hummed in her palm, unplayed. Some ghosts needed no resurrection. Draken's hand found hers. Beyond the glass, Zenara's forests crept toward the wastes, symbiote and sapling fused in fragile symbiosis. The first rains fell, acidic but cleansing. "This," Zyra thought, "is how empires rise."